Now, we already have a good amount of variation due to different speeds they have. We actually gave more velocity to the big sparks than we gave the small sparks. So the small sparks are going to be here. Let's work on them separately from this point on. Let's split the particles into its groups. We can use a split for that. And the split is basically going to allow us to select one group. Let me just create a null here. I'll say big or big parts and small parts. Big particles on this side, small particles on that side. Okay, so these are the small particles. They move slower and they live for a shorter amount of time. Looking at this, we could probably let them live a bit longer and kind of spread a bit more. But those are adjustments that we can do at any time. For now, let's just leave them like this and let's just work on the big particles. So here on the big particles, we also have a good amount of speed variation on these. Some are very long, some are short. And the next step we can do this in a point VOP or in a point wrangle. I'm actually going to show you both ways so that you can take your conclusions yourself as to which one is more practical. So let's start by doing this on a point VOP. And the idea is for us to set width. Let's go inside. We'll need one bind to grab the curve view attribute that we have on our particles. So this is going to bring in the curve view attribute. And we want to export another attribute. So let's use bind export. And this other attribute is the one that's going to be read by the poly wire, which we're going to be using for giving some thickness to this. And that is the width. Now, what's going to happen is that we're going to be using a ramp parameter. Let's call this thick ramp, thickness ramp. It's going to be a spline. We'll feed it the curve view, and we're going to use this, and we're going to multiply this with another parameter that we're going to want to control, which is going to be our max width. Max width. Let's multiply these two together. So the ramp is going to return a value from 0 to 1, and we're going to multiply that value of 0 to 1 by the maximum width that we want. And this is going to be our thickness, our width. Let's go up. So now we have this ramp. Let's make sure that we have some thickness on the beginning. And the maximum width, let's say 0.005. And we'll set apply poly wire. And the poly wire is going to read the variable width. Okay, and this is the result of what we have. Now if you go to the point VOP, we can make them shorter or longer. I wouldn't recommend doing them shorter like this, because what's going to happen is we're still going to have the points back there. Okay, even though they have zero thickness, they're still going to exist, and that will probably generate, it's probably not going to be noticeable, but it might generate some issues at render time. So it's best, if you want to make them shorter, then just go ahead and make them shorter on the trail. Okay, you can reduce this to 0.1 or something like that, and then they'll be shorter. After this, I think the shape is a bit blocky, so a subdivide might come in handy to give it a bit more smoothness to the shape, just slightly. And these would be our sparks. Now it's a matter of controlling what's the maximum thickness. Let's have a look from the camera. So these are gigantic. Let's have a look at here on the set width. Let's say the maximum width is going to be 2.5. And they're probably going to be, should be smaller. Here on the trail, let's say 0.05. Okay, so these are more like sparks, in my opinion. So then it's up to you if you want to make them thicker. This initial burst is just the initial explosion, and then things get more regular. Okay, but now you get the idea of where we're going. Now let's see how we can do the same thing we did on the attribute VOP, but with a wrangle. Let's type PW to grab a point wrangle. And it's really easy, so I'm gonna Control C, Control V, set with wrangle. So basically what we want is to create an attribute called width. It's a float attribute called width that's going to be equal to a channel ramp named thick ramp that's going to remap our curve view attribute. And then we're going to multiply this by another channel called max thick. And semicolon. And that's it. That's exactly the same thing. So I'm going to go here 0.0025. I think that's the value that we're using. Yeah, 0.0025. Let's just make sure our ramp is in the proper direction. And we're going to get exactly the same result. Okay, no difference whatsoever. But so it's just a very simple line of code that gives us the same result as creating all this and renaming and all that stuff. So it's up to you. I'm a fan of code, so I'm kind of biased. I like VOPs for noises, but for stuff like this, for me it's better.